Welcome to the Love Strategy Podcast with Angela and Akila.
We are a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law team. I'm Angela.
And I'm Akila.
We are here to talk to you today about loneliness. But before we get into that, let me tell you a little bit about the podcast. We help individuals and couples navigate the relationships in their lives. Today we have a special guest. We have a licensed marriage and family therapist, and she's going to talk to us about loneliness. As everybody knows, we are currently in a pandemic. And in this pandemic, we talk about social distancing, right? And you need to do that to be safe. Well, I think a better choice of words would be to physically distant, because we are social beings. We cannot live alone. And one of the reasons we wanted to talk about loneliness is because loneliness has really increased here lately. It's always been an issue, but I think it's more so during this pandemic. As a matter of fact, Akila, what are the stats on loneliness?
So, before the pandemic, just in general, loneliness was on a rise amongst the older population. A report from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine points out that more than 1/3 of adults aged 45 and older feel lonely, and nearly 1/4 of adults aged 65 and older are considered to be socially isolated. Now, when you bring in the pandemic into it, about 36% of Americans reported feeling serious loneliness in the wake of the pandemic, according to Loneliness in America, and a recent report by Harvard University. Of these respondents, 61% were aged 18 to 25 years, which, shows that it's kind of
So it's even affecting the younger population?
Yep. And 43% reported increases in loneliness since the pandemic began.
Wow.
Yep.
And so we have our special guest, Nadira, who, as I said, she's a licensed family and marriage therapist. She's going to give us pointers and points and tips to help deal with loneliness. And let me say, the reason we have her here today to talk to us is because our concern is this: when you're lonely, and nobody likes loneliness. I mean, it's a horrible feeling, and being lonely, you may find yourself being willing to engage in activities, relationships, and behaviors that's just not beneficial, that's just not good, that may in fact be harmful. And so we have Nadira, who is a licensed family and marriage therapist, here to give us tips, pointers, and suggestions to help us navigate through this trying time. And it's important to have the skills to deal with that, because if otherwise you could find yourselves, or we could find ourselves in relationships that are just not beneficial, that are just harmful, that will do our soul no good.
Just to fill the void that you're having.
Absolutely. And we all know that's not going to go anywhere. As a matter of fact, you'll end up worse off than you think. So let me ask Nadira, as a therapist, have you experienced here lately, especially during the pandemic, have you seen an incline or an increase, I should say, in patients who are suffering from loneliness?
Yes, I have. So, like most people who are making an effort to follow the rules and continue to social distance aren't spending as much time with their friends. They're not, going out to the bar. They're not having a party. They're not, hey, come over, let's get a drink, doing that sort of thing. And the result of that is that it's just harder to do everything in life when you're not in community, because that's just how people human beings, how we are made. Like there are animals, for example, like turtles. You know, the mother, she lays the egg and then she goes on with life. She buries them or whatever, and then they grow in the egg, and then when they come out, they live life on their own, and that's how they're supposed to be. But human beings, even if you compare them to other mammals, we have the our human baby spends the longest amount of time in a very vulnerable position. You know, so whereas some other animals, 2-3 months, they can do their own thing, they can walk. Whereas a baby, you know, you're in that baby mode for years, and then even as you're a kid, you're still variable. So it just shows how human beings are made, and that doesn't change. That need for connection, of course, it's there for a baby, but it's also there if you're 20, if you're 30, if you're 50, if you're 70, or whatever. It never goes away. And so now people don't have as many of the outlets that they naturally would have, and so they're just left by themselves, which means a huge coping skill that you would have connecting with other people has been taken away. And so people are turning to other things, which is alcohol, which is drugs, or which is, you know, just sleeping all day because they're depressed, or different things that are maladaptive.
So I want to ask though, you mentioned, you said without the coping skills, people sometimes have a tendency to turn to other things. So as human beings then, are you saying that when we are allowed to be social with each other and be in the company of other humans, that helps develop social skills?
It does. It does. It's something very important that you can't really get from anything else other than being able to share space with other people. And there was a story I heard recently, and I'm probably going to kind of mess it up because I didn't read it. Somebody told me about what they heard, so it's like kind of secondhand. But it was in some other country. I don't remember the country, where the women would get together and like wash their clothes in this river. Have you guys heard this story?
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, the women would get together and wash their clothes in this river. It was like once a week or every other week or something. They'll wash their clothes in this river, and then, you know, technology came or something like that, and people got washing machines, and so they didn't have to go do that. And so, okay, you know, everybody's at home, they're washing their clothes, which is more convenient. You don't have to go down to the river. But then they noticed that all these people were having issues that they weren't having before, feeling really sad and getting really depressed and things like that. And at first they were like, we don't know what's going on. Like, you know, we've got this advancement of having everybody has their own washing machine now, you know, it's much better. But really it was the lack of connection. So when they were coming together to wash the clothes, they were also able to sit and talk and laugh and, oh, hey, what'd you do, blah, blah, blah. That sort of thing helped them to feel good, and it also helps you regulate your own emotions when you're around other people. But because they didn't have the need to be there anymore, they weren't around people as much, and so they started feeling depressed. And so that story just really speaks to what happens to all people when we're just not around, we're not allowed to be around other people.
Right. So what would be, right now, what can someone do, or some tips that you can provide? You know, I know that we have to social distance still, and if you're trying to be safe, what are some things you can do to kind of alleviate that loneliness and you know, still have a sense of community and social life
And a connection.
so that you don't end up in the pitfalls of loneliness and boredom, even though I think boredom is a state of mind, but or boredom. So what are some tips that our listeners or anybody can use to try to avoid those pitfalls?
Yeah, so we have to find some type of way to be able to engage with people. If you can do that in a actual, like, we're in the same room setting, and do that safely, either if it's, you know, having something outside, like, you know, there are outdoor events and concerts, going to things like that, that's fine. If you cannot do that, then the next best thing would be, okay, can we do video chat, something where we can see each other in real time? I see your face, I hear your voice. That's going to be the best thing. What we do not want to do, which is what people often end up doing, is increase time on social media. So like, oh, I'm just going to get on Instagram more, I'm just going to post on Facebook more, I'm going to post on Twitter more, because it doesn't work the same way. And it doesn't, any type of engagement that you get from something that's not really person to person, it's not even going to light up the brain in the same way. And so you're not going to get, in fact, it's going to have the opposite effect. People who spend more time online report higher rates of anxiety, higher rates of depression, higher rates of loneliness, because it's like you're getting this false connection. It's like, okay, I kind of see you because I see what you did, but I didn't get to sit and talk with you and say, hey, what's going on? You know, you don't have that real part of it. So it's like, I'm kind of connected to you, but I'm not really connected to you. So it really makes things worse.
So what about if you're done with your
Yeah.
okay. Sorry. What about dating right now? Because I know you try to stay off of social media, but you can do video chats to kind of have that socialization and engage. But what if you're trying to date safely right now? Do you still get the same effects if you're on just camera and you can't actually go on an actual date if you can't fly to meet this person? Or how can people make that work?
I think it is more challenging, but you can make it work. Technology allows us to do a lot of different things. So I've heard of some people having some super creative dates, like, oh, okay, let's do a dinner date where, like, I'm going to set up my surrounding. I have my little candle on my table. You got a candle on your table, and they're set their cameras up. You get dressed, you put on, like you're going on an actual date, but of course both of you are sitting in your own houses. And I have my food there. You have your food over there, and you're still able to talk and do what your thing is. And now, is it exactly the same as being in the same room? No, but given the circumstances, is it a workaround that can still help you to get to know this person and feel comfortable with them and get something similar to actually being in their space? So it is doable, but you just have to be sure that when you are dating a person, first and foremost, am I even in a good headspace? To be able to do that. Because if you don't, sometimes women will say things like, oh, I only attract bad men or whatever. And I heard somebody say, and I don't remember who it was, but they were like, it's not about what you attract. In general, women are going to attract men. So it's not about what you attract, it's about what you choose. So, especially if you're a decent person, you're going to attract all types of people. That's just what it is to be a woman. But who are you choosing?
That's a gem, folks.
Absolutely. And let me say, because you guys know I'm always telling you I'm old school, right? And so I agree with everything that she's just shared with us. But let me say this. It's the next best thing. Because in a relationship, you want to be able to, and I say it over and over and over again, you want to be able to use all your senses if you can. See this person, hear this person, feel this person, so that you can actually get a feel for who this person is. And let me just say this. Technology is great. I love it. I'm a tech junkie. But in a relationship, you don't use texting. Let me just say this about texting. Texting came about as a way to share emergency information, okay? So if you're in a relationship, and it's okay, to text, oh, have a great day, or hope your day's going well. But serious stuff, don't do it by way of texting. Why? You can't tell the person's tone. You don't really know. They can text, I'm having a great day, but you don't know. They could be at home about to bump their head into the wall. I'm having a great day. But if they text, I'm having a great day, you have no idea, right? So important things, guys. I don't care. And this is for any type of relationship, romantic relationship, parent-child relationship. Important things, don't text. Pick up the phone. My preference would be go to the person, but we're in a pandemic. Pick up the phone, because sometimes just by talking, or you can do the video chat or whatever, but you can tell just from talking with somebody or someone or seeing them on a video, how's your day going? Oh, it's going good. And the more you talk to them, you can see, no, it's not. It's not going well at all. And so, as she said, and as my co-host said, we are humans. We are made to be connected. What affects you affects me. And so that's why that human spirit, that human connection is so, so important, And so I just want to throw that out as a old schooler. No texting of important information, okay?
Good. Which makes sense. You don't want to have a relationship with just texting, because I've seen that. Those are the people that get catfished. That's how you get catfished. I mean, because if you're just texting and messaging without the
absolutely, because if somebody texts me, I'm not single ready to mingle. But if I were, somebody texts me, the first thing I'm going to say is, I want to see a full body. I don't even want to see a handshake. I want to see toes,
Hold today's
fingers.
paper up.
I want to see everything because you ain't going to, what is it called?
Catfish.
You ain't going to catfish me. Have a fine looking face. And I'm like, oh yeah, girl, I met a man. I'm getting married tomorrow. I'm so excited. And lo and behold, it's a 13-year-old kid sitting at home on the computer. No, man, I'll be ready to hurt somebody. I'm single, trying to find that special person, and I've been catfished. Oh, then I'm going to have to go see the therapist. Then I'm going to have to go see the therapist for anger aggression or whatever the terminology is. No, but seriously, let's get back. We're serious. You have to have a little laughter in life, guys. And
yes.
That
helps the loneliness.
I mean, it really, we are in such an unprecedented time. And let me say this, it used to be that families were, they stayed connected. They lived, grandma, grandpa, the children, aunts and uncles, they all lived within a certain radius of each other. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't have as much of a problem with loneliness because we were connected. Well, now it's just the opposite. We're having fewer children, bigger houses. One person's on one level, another person on another level. So we're not connected, and I think that's adding to the problem. Right. And I'm all for your children growing up and having their individual lives, but you have to remember that family, you are a family. Family includes mom, dad, children, aunts, uncles, grandma, grandpa. That's really, the saying, it takes a tribe. What is the saying? It takes a village to raise. I mean, that's true. That's true. And so, although I, like many people, like modern conveniences and things like that, let's not forget about the old school way of doing it, know. Let's not. It used to be that our elders, we didn't have to worry about putting them in a facility. We didn't have to. That was unheard of. Now it's like, my mom, I put my grandpa and my grandma in. What? They've spent their lives raising you, taking care of it, and now you're gonna. When they're later years, you're gonna put them in a facility. Come on, we've got to get back to the way we were created to live. We're connected. We're connected. Now that may, you all can give me your views on that. Maybe that's, old school and people don't do it like that anymore.
No, I think they don't. I mean, a lot of people don't. A lot of folks, I think part of the thing is with the bigger houses, being separate. A lot of people are moving as well away from their home or their childhood homes, as far as states, like they're moving states away. Which I think is good. I think it's good to get out, but also maintaining that connection and just the way that our lives are now. We're very fast paced. Yeah. And so, sometimes that's why people have to go, put their loved ones into homes because you're in this fast paced world. And if you don't stay with this fast paced world, you will get left behind in some way, some way, shape or form. And the way, and this is a whole nother topic, a whole nother podcast, but the way that everything is set up from the structures in this country, sometimes, that's the only route, or else you're at home with this, you don't have, the connections, you don't have the support that you have. So you're at home, alone, taking care of an elder. You don't have an income. You don't have any way to maintain your household. So that's just,
the way it is.
The way it is now. And that's the ultimate decision, unfortunately, that a lot of people have to make. Yeah.
And I'm not shaming anyone. I'm just, I guess I'm just blessed and grateful that my family, my siblings and I had the opportunity to be there for our mom. At the end of her life, there was just no question that, as a matter of fact, our mom was in the hospital. We were trying to smuggle her out. They were like, they didn't want her. We were trying to get our mother up out of there because I ain't gonna say that, but we did think they were gonna kill her. But anyway, we were trying to get our mama home, and it was just no question. Granted, it's a lot of us, but we were like, hey, whatever we have to do, we're gonna do it, because we're gonna make sure we know what our mother did for us, and we're gonna make sure that our mother, because we know nobody's gonna take care of her like us. We know her how particular she was. My mother was a clean freak. You didn't do that. And so we're like, you know what? We're gonna figure this out. And I'm just so grateful, and I thank God that we were able to do that. But anyway, that's a whole nother podcast.
Going off on a tangent.
Let's get back to the loneliness now.
So I wanted to ask Nadira, how. I've heard couples say, they are lonely at home with each other still. So they have each other, they're with one another, but they're still lonely. So what does that mean when they say that, and how can they overcome feeling lonely within a relationship?
Well, I would imagine if somebody is saying they're lonely from within a couple, then they're not being vulnerable with each other. So, because that's usually, if, like, for example, you can be in a crowd of people, a literal crowd, and feel lonely if these are all just people who happen to be here at the same time, but you have no connection to them. So it's like, okay, I'm not alone, but I'm lonely. Why? Because I don't know you. I don't, I'm not close to you. And so if it's you and a partner and you guys are sitting in the home together physically, there's no distance between you, but you're still feeling lonely, then again, it's that same issue. There must be some type of emotional distance there, meaning you guys might be talking regular. Oh, hey, what's up? How you doing? Oh, okay, take out the trash. That sort of thing. But there are probably none of the types of conversations that you would have with somebody if you were being vulnerable. I mean, you're letting down your walls and you're saying, actually, I'm feeling kind of bad, or I've been having anxiety for the past 2 days, or I've been home all year, I gained 20 pounds, I don't feel as cute. Like, those sorts of conversations, you got to be close to somebody, you got to be comfortable, you have to be willing to put your walls down. So if people are together in space, but they're not feeling, they're still feeling lonely, then they probably aren't having vulnerable conversations with each other.
Makes a lot of sense.
That's key. And let me say this, because I think one of the benefits of a relationship is that you're with this person who you're saying, I can be vulnerable. I can allow you to see. Sometimes you think of vulnerabilities, you may think of weaknesses. But in a relationship, that's one of the benefits. You're saying, hey, you know what? And it's okay. It's not an attack on the partner, but you may say, hey, even though you're here, I feel lonely. Or you may say, you're here in the house, but I would like for you to sit on the sofa and us talk about whatever. You're in the house, we're passing each other, the therapist said there's no connection. And so that's what a relationship is, connecting two individuals, two souls connecting. And so when you have two people in the house and they're still feeling lonely, when you're in a relationship, you got to be willing. You got to be willing to be vulnerable. Ask for what you need and what you want. There's no shame in your game if you say, hey, I've been missing you all day, and I've been sitting here feeling like I'm by myself. There's no shame in your game, because if he or she cares about you, then their response should be, well, what do you need? What can I do? Because when you're sad, I'm sad. And I want you to be, I want to make your life better, right? That's another important thing of relationships. We ask each other, what can I do to improve my spouse's relationship? That's what real connection is. So don't be in a relationship if you're going to be hard and cold. Look, he should know what I want. She should know what. It doesn't work like that, baby. Only
People
in the
can't read
movies.
minds.
And the only reason it works like that in the movies, they got a script.
Exactly.
Okay?
It was written.
Yeah.
That's right. But I want to thank our guest, Nadira for joining us. Keela, anything else you want to wrap up with, or
I would like Nadira to give her
Closing
contact information and any closing remarks you have regarding loneliness and relationships and not falling into pitfalls of loneliness and pitfalls of bad relationships due to loneliness, if you want. But yeah, just let us know, let people know where they can find you and your
social is that it? Your social handles?
Yes.
Is that it? Is that correct?
It's old school. Yes, social handles.
Okay, sure. So I can be found on Instagram and Facebook. My page is Healing Her Trauma, HealingHer Trauma, Trauma. That's Facebook and Instagram, and my website. So it's easy to find me there. I would say so. Closing remarks, kind of bringing everything all together. So dating while lonely is like, it's like going to the grocery store when you're hungry. Like you just can't make good decisions.
Rational decisions.
Yeah. If you're not hungry,
because you want everything in the store right when you're hungry, and you don't even like it.
And then you get home, you be like, I done bought Twinkies, and
I don't even eat Twinkies. I don't even like them, but they looked good in the store. So good point.
Because you were so hungry, and so it's the same with. If you're in a state of loneliness and you're feeling like, oh, I just can't take this. I got to date somebody, anybody. Then you're more likely to deal with whoever just pops up in the DMs or, whoever's the next match on the website, even though that person may not be good for you at all, or they may have tons of toxic things that they're going to bring to you. But at least I'm not alone. At least I'm with another person. And so in that moment, it can feel like a fair trade, but it never ever balances out.
It really does.
Yeah, so just overall, it's not worth it. In the moment, it may feel like this is an even trade because I was hungry, I was lonely, I was needing something, and now I have someone here to share space with. But over time, you always have to think about: am I living in integrity with the person that I am and the type of values that I have as a person? And so, lots of times when we are making decisions based on loneliness, the answer to that question more often than not is going to be no, because we're going to end up doing things that, again, feel good in the moment, but they're not going to, when we have to look in the mirror at night and we have to think of the type of person we've been, it may not feel good because you're not in alignment with who you are as a person and what is important to you. So, for example, if you meet a person and let's say originally you're saying like, oh, okay, I want to take the time to get to know you. I don't want to have a sexual relationship until I've known you for X amount of time or until I fill in the blank.
Until we're married, but anyway.
And until whatever it is that works for you. And so if the other person, if they're not into that, they're just like, hey, come on, let's go, I'm ready to go. And they're putting the moves on you. They're saying all of the different things. And let's say normal you, the version that wasn't hungry would be able to be like, oh, no, I'm cool. But now you're starving, you're hungry, you're lonely. And so you're more likely to say, well, come on, let's go ahead and do that. And if that's what you really want, you'll be okay with it. But if it's not, again, because if that's not in alignment with the type of person that you want to be and the life that you want to lead for yourself, that choice is not going to sit right with you over time. And that person, when you've already told them that and they still try to force upon you a decision that you didn't want, is showing one that they don't respect your decisions. And so they're probably just not going to respect you in the long run, and it's not going to be worthwhile. So all of that to say, loneliness is tough. Nobody likes it. It doesn't feel good, and we all have to find some way to cope in this world. But we want to move towards, as much as we can, coping skills and mechanisms that will leave us better off than we were before. And so if when talking to this person, if you can say, you know what, a week out, a month out, 2 months out, do I feel, based on what I've read of this person, do I feel that I will be better off after a month of being with him or her? If the answer is yes, then do what you do. But if the answer is no, listen to that.
And keep it rolling, boo. All right, thank you so much for sharing with us. Akila, tell our listeners how they can contact us and follow us.
Yep. So You can find us on Instagram at the Love Strategy Podcast and on Facebook at the Love Strategy. You can also find us on YouTube at the Love Strategy Podcast. So be sure to subscribe and like our videos on YouTube, please.
And comment.
And
'cause
comment. Let us
We
know.
love to engage with you. We love to engage with
If you have anything you want us to talk about, any topic suggestions, if you have something you're dealing with that you need assistance on, please send a comment, send us an email at thelovestrategypodcast@gmail.com. You can also send us a direct message on Instagram and Facebook. You can also record a message for us to be featured on the podcast on Instagram. We have that link in our bio on Instagram at the Love Strategy Podcast.
So we thank you again for listening to the Love Strategy Podcast. And until next time, you know how we do it, Keela, how we roll. We get out of here.
All right,
Deuces.
thank you. Deuces.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Love Strategy Podcast.